What's up, guys? We are back with another Life is Strange gameplay footage. Now this gameplay footage is going to be a little bit different. Normally when I do these gameplay footages, I talk about what's going on in the game, you know, I go around looking for stuff, explain the entire episode for you. This time it's going to be a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about how Life is Strange has really taken off since I last uploaded my last gameplay footage. Now since then, Life is Strange has evolved tremendously. We've seen a release of a new, a new free episode-ish, that is The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, an entirely new Season 2, which is Life is Strange 2, and following that, the release of a comic book series. Now, we're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about how Life is Strange has evolved in many good ways, and also some really depressing ways as well. Now, talking about Life is Strange, at least the first one, I've already played through the entirety of the first Life is Strange. I got the game back when I was just about starting my senior year of high school. I found it out once back when maybe I was like 15, 16, so this was back in like 2015. I was still playing Call of Duty then. Really started getting to Battlefield. Found out about Life is Strange, had no idea what it was, never saw the advertisements, never really followed it much, and I was like, hey, this looks interesting. But I think it cost like 20 bucks for a game, so I was like, nah, I'm gonna give this one a hard pass, and I'm gonna just keep playing Call of Duty. Fast forward to about 2017, the first episode was made free and available to everybody. And then you had to buy the season pass in order to play the rest of the game, which I thought, okay, whatever. So I played the first episode, and I'm like, I like it. It's a different twist. You know, it's not really the first-person shooter experience that I've been so used to, but you know what? I'll give it a try. So 2 weeks pass by, I'm playing the same episode over and over again, and I'm finally thinking to myself, okay, I really gotta get the season pass. So I rushed to my nearest, my speech is, not so great. But I rushed to my nearest Rite Aid, or I think it was Walgreens, I can't remember which one, and I buy my Xbox gift card. I think that's what they call it. I'm not sure, I haven't really bought a gift card in man long, but had 30 bucks on it, so I rush in there, buy the card, get out, input in the code. I put in the code, and then, you know, it gives you 30 bucks, whatever. I buy the season pass, and I play the rest of it. The idea was to just like one episode for every day. Turns out that wasn't the case, because I got so interested and hooked into it that I finished the entire game in like 2 days, which kind of sucked. Well, I mean, like, the game didn't suck. I mean, I liked the story that I had. I won't explain all of it because I still have more gameplay to show you guys. As you are seeing right on your screen right now, I don't see it currently, but when I have this video all done and edited, you'll see my little commentary and the video together, so you guys will get that package. But yeah, I fell in love with the story. Completely different from what I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be some linear campaign. Turns out it was as we all know now, it's a choices type of game. You pick your choices, you can alter the gameplay experience that way. You know, that's what gives the gameplay some novelty. And that's what allows you to have some fun. You can explore the open world too. You can go about trying to establish relationships. You can learn a little bit more about the background of what you're doing and why you're here and all that sort of stuff. And that was fun. That's what I liked about it. It had sort of it has a high school setting, but I had a feeling that it originally was supposed to be a college setting because, you know, the characters live on campus, and some of the characters are a lot older than high school aged people. Like, for example, Nathan and Victoria are, I think they're 19. Victoria falls between 17 or 18, I can't remember. But Chloe's 19, Nathan's 19, and for some reason, Warren Graham, which is like one of the first characters you meet in episode 1, which I've done extensive gameplay footage on. You guys should go watch that, give it some love. But Warren, for some reason, is like 16, and I'm like, wait, you're 16, and you're in this sort of pseudo college like setting. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of odd, but whatever. Originally, I thought it was supposed to be like a college setting, turned out to be like sort of a private high school, but whatever. You know, didn't detract too much from my experience, but
Samuel knows his color scheme.
with that being said, the characters are they had sort of an archetype to them. So the way they were developed is they had an archetype, and then they kind of reversed it and then made it more than just an archetype. They developed on the archetype, and that became the character. You know, if you watch some of the developers developing the game, you know, the little diary series or whatever, you'll see how they developed the characters. You'll see also how they went to places in Oregon, took some real life pictures, and surveyed the scene, and that's how they made Arcadia Bay, which I thought was really cool. You know, you don't see too many video games doing that nowadays, you know, putting that much amount of detail into the story. You know, nowadays it's just microtransactions, loot boxes, RNG.
Does he need a poster?
Pretty soon it's going to be just pay to win. I'm pretty sure that's already the deal, but that's beside the point. Max as a character, I can completely resonate with her in many different ways. I know she's a shy character, which is kind of what I am in real life. I'm shy. She also comes off as a bit nerdy, and she does love her photography a lot, which is pretty much me as well. So, and some of the things I didn't like about Life is Strange was sort of the choices. They said that the choices matter. Now, I won't tell you all the choices, but I will tell you this. Let's just say that the last choice is the only one that really matters. In a game that's revolved around time travel, obviously your choices don't really matter as much. But in a game that's advertised as saying that your choices will matter each and every step of the way, it was kind of, I don't know how to put it, false advertising on their part too. But I took it as false advertising, just because your choices really didn't matter. If you know what I'm talking about. Like, if you made a wrong decision, you can literally just hit the rewind button and then just do that decision all over again if you wanted to. So that's why I found that kind of sucked about the game, is that I wish the choices had a little bit more depth into it. One of the things that I didn't really appreciate as much is how they touched upon the whole Nathan is being abused and, you know, his whole history. They did touch upon it a little bit in Life is Strange Before the Storm, but I'm going to talk about that later, and how that completely messes the entire lore up, because they completely retconned the entire thing, and they just switched out a whole bunch of details, and just everything about that game is awful. I think it was a completely rushed prequel. They did it for money. You know, they were capitalizing off of the success, but we're going to talk about Nathan. So, Nathan Prescott, he's the kid, he's the rich kid, he's also a huge bully alongside
hello, young Max.
Victoria Chase and Blackwell Academy. There we go. I can't for some reason say the name correctly, but throughout the story they were harping on this whole Nathan has to be the, you know, he has to fulfill the legacy of the Prescott family, but for some reason they wouldn't really talk too much about it. I don't know why. I was wondering whether if the developers wanted us to just sort of keep us out of the loop, or they want us just on a cliffhanger, or they want us just to figure it out ourselves, or I don't know. But I wish they gave us a little bit more details on, you know, the importance of Nathan Prescott and why he had to fulfill the Prescott legacy with the whole taking over the business and stuff like that. The other thing I didn't like was, okay, so this is a bit of a spoiler alert, so if you really didn't play Life is Strange, or if you still want to see some gameplay footage, I urge you to click away now. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about episode 5. So in episode 5, let's just put it this way, you end up at the lighthouse somehow. I won't reveal too much, but you end up at the lighthouse. So the tornado, aka water spout, is in full swing, it's in full effect, it's destroying Arcadia Bay. You see the entirety of Arcadia Bay being ripped to shreds, and you're wondering to yourself, why is the lighthouse so important? Because if you harken back to the first episode, when you first see the vision of water spout destroying Arcadia Bay. Yes, it's a water spout. It's a tornado that forms over a body of water. Therefore, it's called a water spout. Don't question me. I just know. It's something you can look up yourself.
What do I know?
I'm getting off topic, but anyways.
I so don't
If you harken back to the first episode when Maxine, aka Max, had her first vision about the tornado/water spout hitting Arcadia Bay, you'll notice that she goes to the lighthouse and that she's found this ghost doe. Now, I believe that the ghost doe is either Rachel's spirit animal or Max's spirit animal. I don't really have an entire stack of evidence on that. I've tried looking around the Life is Strange Wikipedia, but wasn't doing too well. And plus, I'm pretty sure there's something messed up with the site too, since it's like, I don't know, the calibration of the paragraphs is kind of off, but whatever. So she goes to the lighthouse, and it's being ripped to shreds. Now, she specifically alludes to the fact that the lighthouse is the safest place to be during the storm, but I don't buy it because the lighthouse was actually ripped to shreds. So, I'm not sure what the meaning of the lighthouse was. Was it to symbolize a beacon of hope, or that there was at least some hope left, but then that hope was being ripped to shreds, and Max has to come to the realization that, you know, it's either going to be Chloe or the entire town that she has to save, and I don't want to dive in too much because I haven't played that episode yet for you guys. I already played it myself, but still want to do some gameplay footage on that. One of the other things that I wish they touched on a little bit more was Rachel Amber as a person. Now, they did that in Life is Strange Before the Storm, but again, they completely fucked it up by retconning everything, and I'm going to talk about that later on. But, sorry guys. But Rachel, she comes off as this mysterious character. You don't really know about her too much. You just see her through a missing persons poster. You know, you see her as this highly popular girl. She gets all the guys. She's really, really smart. She's pretty. Everyone likes her. And apparently, she has sort of this sex-crazed addiction, and she's also a drug addict. And mysteriously vanishes 6 months before I think you come into Arcadia Bay as Max.
That's why I wanted to talk.
I don't remember the actual time frame off the top of my head, but she disappears. Now,
hi again, Taylor.
I wish they'd explore a little bit on Rachel, you know.
We should do it again.
You know, why were they talking about Rachel so much, and then it just automatically leads nowhere? Now, if you played episode 4, you'll understand why, but for those of you who haven't, or if you want to see some gameplay footage from me, I won't tell you too much, but just know that in episode 4, let's just say there's something going on with Rachel, and then, you know, we'll leave it from there. But I really do wish they'd explore Rachel's character a little bit more. She was a really interesting character. I wish they at least had a nightmare scenario, or sort of like just a vision with Rachel, because she was a really interesting character. You know, if Max had a vision of Rachel, then that would have been pretty nice. So that's all Life is Strange. Now we're going to talk about Life is Strange Before the Storm, which I actually think is an objectively really, really bad video game, especially for like a prequel in the Life is Strange saga, if that's what we're calling it at this point. So Life is Strange Before the Storm came out around 2017. It was supposed to be a prequel. Instead of Max being the main character, it's Chloe, who, like it or hate her, you know, doesn't matter. She's the main character, deal with it. But the way they went about it was just so bad. Instead of being 5 episodes like the original Life is Strange, and Life is Strange Before the Storm, it was literally just 3 episodes for the same price if we talk about the season pass. And this was before episode 1 became free. I don't know if it's free still, or they went back to the, you gotta buy the $30 season pass or whatever, and it's only 3 episodes. The bonus episode doesn't count because that was added on to the game later on, when people were kind of bitching in the comments saying, we want Max back, this is not what we were asking for, or whatever. You know, the rabid fanboys and fangirls were like, we want Max back, this game is, you know, this isn't a Life is Strange without Max. But I'm like, no, that's not really what Life is Strange is. Life is Strange is all about exploring deep and real concepts from a teenager's
haven't
point of
seen each
view or
other in a
whatever,
while.
right?
I
You
bet you were glad to
explore
see her blast up in that truck like a
the
rock
lessons
star.
of life
Which
and
begs the
whatnot.
question: why is Nathan Prescott getting
And
psycho?
so, you know, I'm just sitting here,
I busted him
and
in
I
the
thought that
bathroom
Life is Strange
yesterday
Before the
with a
Storm was going
gun.
to be like the game.
I'll
Like,
give you the
you
story
know, it was
later.
going to be like
Principal Wells
freaking
is taking
amazing. It
care
was
of
going to
it
be
now,
worth
I hope.
buying the
You're
prequel.
fucking
Turns
weak.
out it was a piece
Like
of
that
garbage
bizarro snowball
that was
yesterday.
obviously rushed.
Speaking of
And here's why.
dystopia, that
First of
drive-in is
all,
having a
it was
70s
priced at
Planet
the
of
same
Apes
price tag
marathon.
that
Let's go
the original
ape.
Life is Strange was, but
Yes, that's exactly
it only had
what
3
I mean.
episodes.
I
Now, if
love
that
those old
doesn't
school
ring
ape
any bells in your
films.
head,
Well, that was easier than I
it
thought.
probably should,
Cool.
because you're
I'll
just
text you the
throwing your
info.
money away for basically a game that has 2 less episodes.
I have to
Second
tell
of all,
Brooke I'm going
around
with
this
you to the
time there
movies
was a
instead.
sort of actors
text you later.
strike because I think they weren't getting paid enough or whatever, so they hired completely new actors. Now, I do follow some of the actors. The actor for Chloe was Davies, who pretty much does a really good job at playing her part. The rest of the characters, though, they were really falling short. If you listen to some of the characters, they almost sound kind of weird or
David talking to
robotic.
Nathan cannot be a
And
good
maybe it's
thing.
just not the actor's
This has
fault. Maybe it's
something
just
to
the
do with
way the
Kate.
scripts were written
Or Rachel.
that made them sound robotic. So maybe it's just the person who was creating the script who was at fault and not the actors themselves. Because really the actors are just, you know, they're just reading words off of a piece of paper and, you know, doing their part. But anyways, so yeah, the actors were really falling short. The acting was falling short. The dialogue was really cringy. If you play Chloe, and I know I'm probably going to give out some spoilers because I haven't exactly played Life is Strange Before the Storm yet, and I do intend on covering that game. I only played it once because I thought it was boring, and it was too convoluted, and it just didn't really make any sense, and just overall it was a bad game. If you really have to play it, go ahead, but usually I would highly, strongly advise you against it. If you still like the first Life is Strange and everything that it had to offer, please, please, please do not play this prequel. It will completely ruin your experience, I'm telling you, man. But the dialogue sounds like someone from Dymond tried to hire out somebody from Tumblr's SJW department, and basically they hired them and they wrote the dialogue, because really it just sounds so cringy. Like these it tries so desperately hard to be funny and sort of how do I put it, like it's trying way too hard to be funny and serious at the same time, and it's just such a mess. Like, for example, the backtalk mechanic, which that was a horrible mechanic to begin with. I don't know why Chloe even had it in the first place. They figured Chloe didn't have a superpower, but let's put something similar to a superpower, aka this convoluted mechanic called the backtalk mechanic. So what the backtalk mechanic basically is, it's like, you know how like when Max talks to someone and she has to pick the right thing, you know, she has her whole like dialogue tree or whatever, and you get to pick what she wants to say, and it completely changes the outcome of how the character will interact with Max. Basically the same thing, but now it's like with the backtalk mechanic, you hit a point and it's like, okay, I have to argue with this person, or I have to convince this person. So what the backtalk mechanic is, it's literally just Chloe arguing like a Twitter SJW person. I'm trying not to be rude, but you know, I just have to say it. It's literally just Chloe sounding like a manic depressive Tumblr blogger.
She looks busy and stressed.
It's just so bad. Like, she'll say something like,
Hi.
"Oh, isn't it past your bedtime?"
Lost.
Or, "Oh, I can ride
Do you know if the bus has come yet? The
monkey
online schedule
flamethrower."
isn't
I don't
working.
even remember what it was because the dialogue just wasn't
just got
that
off the school
memorable, to be
bus, but
honest. Like,
I'm sure the
you can
regular bus
remember
is coming too.
stuff that
Ugh,
Max said in the first Life is
I
Strange
can't be
and
late
Before
for
the
this job
Storm.
interview.
Honestly,
Can't believe I have to
realistically,
take a
if
bus
you played
all
the
way to
game,
Newport just to find
can
a
you
second
honestly
job.
remember anything that
things
Chloe
that bad
said
here?
that was even
Where are
that
things
memorable
good?
or wasn't that
I can't even
cringy?
afford to
Really,
live
honestly,
here.
you
Well,
can't.
good luck.
It's impossible.
Thanks, I
it's just
sure need
so
it.
bad. And it's not even the actor's fault. It's just the way that the backtalk mechanic was just created. It was just so bad. Like, it's just awful. I don't even know why it was there to even begin with. If it was just going to be that bad. You know what I mean? The third problem with Life is Strange Before the Storm was how they went about trying to craft the narrative. Now, the way I see it, it looked like Life is Strange Before the Storm had a bit of an identity crisis, because what I was assuming, what a lot of people were assuming, was that we were playing this, sure, whatever, people like her, people hate her, you know, your own opinion, but they were under the assumption that they were going to be playing as Chloe, and this is set, you know, way before Max even comes back to Arcadia Bay. This was set in 2010. So a year earlier, Max left Arcadia Bay for good and she went to Seattle. So this was basically what I was thinking that it was going to explore, and what a lot of people were thinking it was going to explore, was that, you know, how Chloe turns out, you know, in a life without Max Caulfield. And I didn't know it was going to shoehorn Rachel in there, because we were under the assumption that Rachel was this mysterious character that we didn't really know about. Turns out Rachel was actually in this game. Now, we're going to talk about her later, but you didn't really notice it at first. So, like, in the first episode and, like, in most of episode 2, you know, Chloe, you got to explore her, you got to explore what she was like. She was sort of this rebel, becoming a rebel. You know, she was starting to solidify her personality that you saw in the first Life is Strange. She was this rebel, this I don't give a fuck attitude, you know. That was fine. So I'm thinking
like a photo of the classic
you
Arcadia
meet.
Bay crusty
Okay, I'm giving out spoilers. Oh, I'm giving out spoilers right now.
Looks
so
like
please click away if you haven't played the game, didn't bother playing the game, or if you want to see gameplay footage from me. But you meet Rachel in episode 1. Now this is, I think, when you get to the party in the barn or the abandoned sawmill. I can't remember what it was, because the game just wasn't that memorable to begin with.
Oh, the fish used to jump on.
Right around episode 2, they kind of switched gears. So I was like, okay, Rachel's in this game, so okay, so maybe they can finally talk about the relationship between Rachel and Chloe, which I thought would be awesome, because then it would lead up to how Rachel, you know, dies or whatever. And you know,
they own my school.
If you haven't gotten to episode 3 yet of the original Life is Strange, they talk about how Rachel cheated on Chloe first with Frank, the drug dealer, and then with Mark Jefferson, the school photography teacher. So I thought they were going to talk a little bit about that in Life is Strange Before the Storm, but nope, they didn't. Instead, what they try to do is switch gears, and then for like the last part of episode 2 and then the rest of episode 3, which is by that point the end of the game, they did this sort of pointless quest of finding Rachel's biological mother. Like, what? Like, why does that have to be in there? I thought they were exploring the relationship between Rachel and Chloe, and you know, how Chloe develops as a character in a life without Max. But yeah, they completely switch gears, have no idea why. Maybe it's just because, I don't know, those rabid fanboys and fangirls just want something more dramatic, instead of just, you know, letting the game play out and just, you know, letting them see the relationship between Rachel and Chloe.
I wonder if they explained that snow.
But nope, we didn't get that. So, on to the fourth problem.
Snow. Well, that's a good start.
Rachel herself. Like, if you haven't played the game yet, you wouldn't know, but if you did, you would already know. Rachel is basically portrayed as this sort of douchebag. Like, she has a douchey sort of character.
Newspapers are going to be retro.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go drink some water really quick.
Excuse me.
Alright guys,
Sir?
I'm back. I had to go drink some water because I was having these voice cracks and it was just so bad. But anyways, they present Rachel as this sort of douchey character. Now, in Life is Strange 1,
how long have you lived
the way they described her was perfectly, it was awesome. I liked it, the mysteriousness around Rachel. She was this lovable girl, everyone liked her, she had a can-do attitude, she was going to become an actress, but you know, somewhere along the line, she kind of just fizzled out. She became a sex addict and a drug addict as well, and that got her in a lot of trouble. And you know, no one really knew how she was mysterious in her own ways, people thought she was innocent, yeah. Still others thought she was guilty of something, you know. In Life is Strange Before the Storm, she's basically depicted as this sort of dream pixie girl that comes out of nowhere and fixes Chloe's life. Now that's kind of depressing in many ways because it completely contradicts how Rachel was described in Life is Strange, at least the first one. Second of all, you know, it makes Rachel completely unlikable. You know, the fact that she has this douchey attitude and this I can do whatever I want attitude, and if you don't like it, I can't be friends with you. Again, if you haven't played the game, completely ignore this part. But, you know, it's whatever.
How long have you lived in
She has this sort of I can get whatever I want because I say so, and if you don't agree with me, please leave.
What changes to the town?
Or you're a bad person, or whatever. You know, that makes Rachel completely unlovable. People who have played Life is Strange Before the Storm, I'm pretty sure now completely hate Chloe and Rachel, which is kind of a damn shame because Rachel is described perfectly in the first Life is Strange. So, were there some positives? Yeah, I guess there were. You know, I like the fact that it was a little bit more grounded, down to earth. There was no superpowers, you know, felt a little bit more normal. You know, had they gone ahead with the narrative that I described, in which that the game was exploring how Chloe ended up in a life without Max, and if Rachel was going to show up, have her be, like, her personality be the way that it was described in the first Life is Strange, and not only that, the game would have explored the relationship between both Rachel and Chloe and how she ended up cheating on Chloe and how she got into all this trouble, and then finally how she died at the hands of either Nathan or Mark Jefferson, depending on where your opinion lies. But yeah, that's Life is Strange Before the Storm. The other thing I want to talk about is the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit. Now, I haven't seen any gameplay footage on that, so I don't know too much about it, other than it's the story of a little kid named Chris, who pretends that he's a superhero and that he has a drunk father, and it's literally just one episode and it's completely free. Now, what they said was that the game was tying into Life is Strange 2. So if you guys have played Life is Strange 2 already, you guys already know because the second season has been out for quite some time now. And then we move on to Life is Strange 2. Now, people are mad at Life is Strange 2 because for some reason it has to have Max and Chloe. But it's like, we've already had 2 games on them. Oh, by the way, before I get into Life is Strange 2, if you really want to play Life is Strange the right way, get Life is Strange Before the Storm, but don't play the original 3 episodes that they give you. Instead, what you need to do is, you know how they have that farewell episode, the bonus episode. What you need to do is play the bonus episode first, because that's set like when Max and Chloe were kids, and that's when they find out Chloe's father died. You know, again, spoilers. Then after you're done with that, play the entirety of Life is Strange Before the Storm, and then play the entirety of the first Life is Strange. Trust me, it'll make a whole lot more sense. Plus, you'll figure out why Life is Strange Before the Storm is so flawed and why certain people hate it, like myself. Then again, there's other people who like it, but, you know, once again, I'm probably in the minority. So, Life is Strange 2. People don't like it because Max and Chloe are in it. Now, we've had right now, like, I think 2 games on Max and Chloe. There isn't any more to explore. And even if there was, like, people would be completely tired of Max and Chloe. Like, they would just be burnt out. It would be to the point where it's like Call of Duty. You keep releasing the same game over and over again. People eventually are going to get tired of it, and then they'll eventually come to hate it. Same thing with Max and Chloe. You shoehorn in Max and Chloe too many times, they're gonna start to get tired of Max and Chloe, and then eventually it'll shift to the point where they completely hate Max and Chloe. And that's not what the studio wanted for the fan base. They decided that they were gonna bring in new characters. What were their names? Sean and Daniel. If you've played the game, you already know. If not, then this is a spoiler, so yeah, this kind of review is completely filled with spoilers, but yeah. So what the game is trying to portray is how two brothers stick up for each other in a time of peril. Now, they're Mexican Americans, so that means they're exploring that racial issue and, you know, how Trump America is like, you know, in a brief, sort of touchy sense. They're not overly into depth with it, which is, you know, completely fine. It's not like they're trying to roast the Trump people. They're just trying to explore the systematic racism that exists in American society when it comes to Mexicans and Mexican Americans.
This guy has serious
So
horns.
something tragic happens and they have to travel together all the way back to Mexico where supposedly their dad used to live before they went to live in Seattle.
Why does that so not sound
If you
fun?
played episode 2, Captain Spirit ties directly into that episode, so that's pretty nice.
I might make Chloe check this out with me.
In episode 1, there were hints to the original Life is Strange, season 1, when Sean and Broody, I forget what his name was, I think it was Broody, they get to this hillside and they see Arcadia Bay. Depending on which choice you pick, whether it's destroyed or saved, it'll show it in that state, which I thought was pretty nice.
So
Last thing I'm going to talk about, the comic books. Now, if you didn't know, Titan Comics released an entirety of, they released a line of Life is Strange comic books just because people wanted it so bad. People wanted to figure out what happened to Max and Chloe after episode 5. So yeah, they released a 4-part series. It's called Life is Strange Dusk. I've read them all, thought they were pretty nice. It explores one of the infinite possibilities of what could have happened to Max and Chloe. Now the path they took was that the town was sacrificed and that Max and Chloe are still together. Now what happens in the comics, I won't tell you. I'll just leave it to you guys to read it for yourself. I think you guys might like it. It's a really good and well-crafted narrative. It has some of the character development that you guys have been looking for. In Max and Chloe that you may or may not have otherwise picked up on already in the first Life is Strange. You know, so for those of you who want to continue exploring Max and Chloe and aren't really, you know, too hot about the season 2 for Life is Strange, you guys can go read those comics. It's a 4-part series.
I feel like
So there's
too much beer, so spare me,
a comic
please.
1,
Let me
comic 2,
suffer
comic
quiet.
3, and then comic 4. So read those. I think you'll like it. It's really nice. And yeah, that's it. So Life is Strange has definitely evolved as a sort of saga or a franchise, so to speak. Yeah, I should have called it a franchise because it sounds much more appropriate in this case. I'm sorry for the amount of voice stuttering and the voice cracks. I'm sorry. It's like 12 in the morning and everyone's asleep in my house, so I have to speak in a lower tone than I usually would. So thank you guys for watching. If you're new here, I'm Jason. It's Jason here. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Don't forget to mash the like button as well if you like this commentary. I know this is something different from what you guys are usually used to when it comes to my Life is Strange gameplay. Figured it was something a little bit different instead of just be talking about the open world, which some of you guys may or may not like. You know, that formula was getting old really fast. So I figured, you know what? Let me just talk a little bit about how Life is Strange has evolved as a franchise. It went from a video game series to a sort of, it spawned spin-offs, a completely free episode, and now we're in season 2, and as well as a 4-part comic book series, which I thought was pretty nice. Pretty sure they've also released things like shirts and stuff like that. They've released posters. Pretty soon they're going to have action figures rolling out, if not already. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys like this commentary. Please click like. Don't forget to subscribe. Get me to 5k subscribers. I'll get my good friend Yaskinho. No, not Yaskinho. Not Yaskinho. I'm sorry. I've been talking so much about Yaskinho that, like, he's the first name that pops up. I mean, Josh Solano. Speaking of Yaskinho, if you guys want me to do a Yaskinho review video, please comment down below. Well, if you guys give me 5k subscribers, I will get my good friend Josh Solano to make Urban Lost backpacks, and it will have my logo
Okay,
on it.
Max.
It'll be
Study
completely
every
nice and
item
everything
carefully
like
and
that.
don't forget
Speaking of
anything.
which, I did redesign my channel art. I hope you guys like it. Thought it was something different. You know, it's a little bit more lighthearted, more creative. With the banner, I mean, it could have been better, but I know there was going to be some idiots in the comment section saying, where's your social media? Even though it'll be like the first link that you click on in my homepage. Like there's like a whole section where you can just look at my social media, like the first 5 that I posted. Not to mention it's in my about section, and it's also in the comments section of every single one of my videos. But I figured if people were gonna have no idea where it is, I figured why not just post it in my banner as well.
That's
you
funny.
know,
Our
make sure they
feeling
find
never
it
went
there.
well watching.
And if they still can't find
Looks
it,
fun.
well, you're out of luck, you know. But yeah, this is it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is Jason signing off because I'm really tired.
Whoa, Ken Kesey with Joyce? That's so perfect. I got you, babe. How apropos. But no fucking way. I got you, babe. How apropos. But no fucking way. Forgot about the Fishing Wall of Fame. Drool. Want everything.
And there she is. Lovely young woman. How are you doing, Max?
Hi, Joyce. It's nice to see you again. You look the same.
Like I'm still a waitress at Two Whales after all these years.
No, like you still look pretty.
Nice save, kid. You're still smart. But not that smart. Now you get busted for smoking pot. I heard the whole sordid story from David. I'm sorry this was how you had to meet him. He's a good man, no matter what Chloe says.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even smoke, like, ever. It was almost an accident. Very stupid. I'm sorry.
It surprised me fierce. I was hoping you could be a good influence in her life now.
I will be. Promise. Justin is such a mellow dude. What's up, Justin?
Getting my coffee on before I cut class and destroy some rails. Shouldn't you be taking photos?
I am always taking photos. I am a camera.
You crack me up, Maxter. Of course I'm baked. So I'll laugh at anything.
You should be studying, bad boy.
So where's all your homework, schoolgirl?
School. Speaking of buds, I saw your bro Trevor sneaking out of Dana's room.
Trevor finally told me about him and Dana hooking up. He got there first, so I snooze and I lose. See you later, Max. Let's talk later when I'm not so hot.
See you around, Max.
That officer looks nicer than wannabe cop David Madsen. Hello, sir.
Hi, young lady. You look a little lost.
Just hungry and thinking about what to eat.
Now, that is is a real problem at the two wells. I can never decide. Joyce's pumpkin pie or grilled mac and cheese.
How well do you know Joyce?
I know her delicious grub. Everybody at the station comes here. We take care of this place like it's our own kitchen. And Joyce like she's our mother.
So, you know Chloe?
Sadly, we all know Chloe down at the station. Poor Joyce. Just heard that Chloe even had a pot dealer in her.
That's not good. Anyway, that bacon sure smells good.
Is she a friend of yours?
I know her.
Then you know she's a handful.
She can be, but she can also be a good friend who shows up when you need her.
Sounds like you're a good friend. I wish she would be a great daughter and not cause Joyce so much stress.
I guess you're friends with David Madsen.
I wouldn't use that word. We know each other. Why do you ask?
He kinda has a reputation at Blackwell.
I have respect for David. He served his country. He found his calling at Blackwell. At the station, we're happy David is exactly where he is. Not everybody can be a cop.
I have to go now. Enjoy your breakfast.
By the way, one thing I can tell you for certain is to stay away from that RV outside.
I usually stay away from sketchy parked vehicles.
Wise policy. The guy who lives in it, Frank, is pretty sketchy himself. That's all I can say for now. I should finish up my coffee and get to work.